Hello my friends, welcome if you're new here or welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and stopping by. Today we are just going to do a little chatty, comfy, cozy video. It's a very gloomy Sunday outside, and unfortunately with all the rain, that means my allergies have given me a run for my money. So I've got some hot tea here. I definitely recommend picking up a snack or something to drink as you chat with me today, because we have a very long list of new releases coming out. Yes, I know I'm late to the party on this video, but that is okay because we've got a lot of fun, exciting things to talk about. I even went through and tried to get rid of books that I'm not as excited about, but honestly, I'm genuinely excited for each and every one of these. I thought we could just sit down, have a little catch up, go ahead and grab a cozy sweater, grab a cozy drink, and let's just go ahead and get right into the January new releases. I'm briefly gonna run through the first few of these books because when you see this video, I bet that the first 10 or 12 of these books I talk about is actually already going to be released. So I guess that's a reminder to you to just go ahead and pick some of these up. But one that I already decided to purchase and pick up for myself is Song of Silver, Flame Like Night. I completely forgot this was coming out. It is a new to me author. I've never read anything by this author, and the cover is definitely giving me like Priory of the Orange Tree kind of vibes. But from the synopsis, the magical system sounded very cool because you have marks on your skin, and if you have marks on your skin, that means you have magical abilities. I don't remember the full synopsis of it. If I were to read all the synopsis off of books, we would be here all day long. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But the main reason why I wanted to pick this up is it is Asian inspired, obviously, and I love the Asian culture. It's just so colorful, it's so vivid, and I just have a feeling this one is not going to disappoint. I've been hearing rave reviews about it, and I know at least there's going to be a second one at this point. I'm not sure how many is going to be in the series. It just sounds also like a more mature kind of fantasy, especially for being young adult. So I am very eager to put this on a TBR, probably coming up fairly soon because I'm very excited for it. The next book that I'm super excited is already out. I haven't picked it up yet. It is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. I really liked Get a Life Chloe Brown. I know that one is definitely up there on the spice level, so just in case you did not know that or want to be warned going into it, I really just enjoyed her characters, and the audiobook was super great. But I think this is her first young adult romance. But I love the fact that our main character is a content creator and the love interest is an athlete, and they decide to go on some type of survival course in the woods that kind of turns into a game show with a prize. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out. And also, his name is Bradley and he's a star football player. My husband's name is Bradley and he also played football, so that was just kind of a no-brainer for me. The next book is by Simone St. James called Ghost 19. I was unaware that this book had already been published, but I guess it was getting like a redesign. And if you've watched my 23 books for 2023, Simone St. James is an author I really would love to find out if she is for me. It says a woman moves to a town where she becomes obsessed with watching the lives of her neighbors while stuck in a house that refused to let her leave. It's also a short story, but it also is giving me major woman in the window kind of vibes where the girl doesn't leave her house. I really enjoyed that story, and especially the TV series with Amy Adams. This one does sound like it has a little bit more potential for me to enjoy. I've been trying to search for some decent graphic novels coming out this year, but for whatever reason I'm really coming up short. I really feel another like graphic novel manga binge coming on. I love them so much, but I didn't read as many as I wanted to last year, and there's one called Wait Till Helen Comes, a ghost story graphic novel, but the cover alone just gives me the creeps. Two siblings must save their stepsister from the clutches of a vengeful ghost. list. Honestly, that's all I need to know to pick up a graphic novel. If it's spooky or it sounds interesting or the artwork is really good, and it looks like this one could be pretty good artwork. If you're looking for any new graphic novels, this is probably, I think, the only one on this list. I don't know why there's not that many coming out this year, but it makes me kind of sad. Okay, the next book I'm going to be picking up immediately. I think this comes out January 10th, so just in a couple days, may already be released by the time you see this, but it is another cozy kind of fantasy that I am just so stoked for this year. I feel like we're getting more of those. It's called Encyclopaedia of Faeries by Amelie Wilde. It's called Amelie Wilde's Encyclopedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett. A professor journeys to a small town in the far north to study fairy folk and discovers dark fae magic, friendship, love, in this heartwarming and enchanting fantasy. I mean, right there, plus the cover, that is an immediate buy for me. Cambridge professor Amelie Wilde is good at many things. She is the foremost expert on the study of fairies. She is a genius scholar and a meticulous researcher who's writing the world's first encyclopedia of fairy lore. The next book I want to talk about was actually a book of the month choice for January, so you may already have this in your hands, but it is Lunar Love, and this one has to do with our main character Liv, who is taking over her grandmother's matchmaking business. That just sounds so much fun and so cute right up front. Like, that is literally all I need to know, and this cover is absolutely adorable. I have really gotten into romance lately, and so I wanted to add another new fresh release to my February TBR. I just am really excited to read this one because I have not seen very many reviews about it, and sometimes I like going into books blind. City of Nightmares by Rebecca Schaeffer is going to be a start to a new young adult fantasy series. This sounds like such a creepy wild ride. I literally thought this was adult. First of all, when I saw the cover. Second of all, when I read Gotham meets Strange the Dreamer in this thrilling young adult fantasy about a cowardly girl who finds herself at the center of a criminal syndicate conspiracy in a city where crooked politicians and sinister cults reign, and dreaming means waking up as your worst nightmare. Also, get this. This next sentence is going to be the reason I may possibly have literal nightmares from this book. It says, ever since her sister became a man-eating spider, 19-year-old Ness has been terrified. I mean, yeah, me too. This sounds like such a twisted, dark, young adult book, but right away you have Gotham and Strange the Dreamer. I love both of those things, so this is just the perfect formula to be an amazing new series. The next book is a new mystery thriller coming out this month called Liar, Dreamer, Thief by Maria Dong, and this cover right away looks super weird but has me so intrigued. I don't know very much about this one. The synopsis is very vague, but it basically sounds like there's a girl named Katrina Kim who thinks she is being stalked, and I know this one also explores a lot of mental health. In this book, it sounds like our main character is dealing with the guilt of thinking that her brother's suicide was her fault. It's very highly rated, and I do have the audiobook for this one already. This is one I'm kind of going into blind, but the cover really had me intrigued. Another book that was also a book of the month choice is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. The fact that this is by Kate Alice Marshall and it's her adult debut, that is literally all I need to know. You guys know I love Kate Alice Marshall. She writes some really scary, creepy, twisted things, and I cannot wait to dive into this one. I'm probably going to be reading it in February. I think this could be like her big break as a mystery thriller author, because while her other books are a little bit more fantastical, I know she can write really dark things, so I'm hoping that she ends up writing more like this, and I'm really hoping I end up liking this one too. Next on my list is probably my most highly anticipated of the year, at least possibly top 3. That is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. You guys already know I fell in love with My Best Friend's Exorcism last year, and this one explores basically a haunted house. We have two siblings whose parents have passed away. They go back to clean out the house to sell, and I think some sinister things start happening. Honestly, I just love haunted houses in general. The Haunting of Bly Manor, The Haunting of Hill House. I love those kind of shows and vibes and just aesthetic and stories, and I just really think this has the potential to be a big 5 stars and maybe even be my favorite Grady Hendrix yet. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm just super excited about this one. We also have Mystery of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson, who I absolutely adore. Sorcery of Thorns is one of my favorite books I love to recommend people because you're not committing to a giant series. That story was just a great one for any bookish lover in general because it had to do with a magical library. This one I think is just a side novella or a side story, but the fact that it's by Margaret Rogerson in this same world, I'm going into this one completely blind if you can't tell. That is all I need to know, because if you are a Sorcery of Thorns fan like I am, right away you're already going to want to put this one on your radar. This next book I feel like has been on my radar probably the longest out of all of these. It's called The Minuscule Mansion of Myra Malone. Just the cover and especially the title alone just speaks to me, and the fact that it's magical realism with some romance, but it also kind of sounds hard-hitting, literally could be the absolute perfect book for me. From her attic in the Arizona mountains, 34-year-old Myra Malone blogs about a dollhouse mansion that captivates thousands of readers worldwide. Myra's stories have created legions of fans who breathlessly await every blog post, trade photographs of mansion-modeled rooms, and swap theories about the enigmatic and reclusive author. Myra herself is tethered to the mansion by mysteries she can't understand. Rooms that appear and disappear overnight, music that plays in its corridors. Across the country, Alex Rakes, the scion of a custom furniture business, encounters 2 mansion fans trying to recreate a room. The pair show him the minuscule mansion, and Alex is shocked to recognize a reflection of his own life mirrored back to him in minute scale. This sounds like such an interesting, unique premise. I don't even know where to start or how to explain this, other than the fact I just want it literally right now. And of course, this series again made it to my top priority list, my highly anticipated. That is Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun, which is number 3 in the series, and I cannot believe I'm holding this in my hands. You bet I have already started this. I'm about only 25 pages in, but right away it is hilarious. I cannot stop laughing in this series. Everything about this is just perfection to me. It's highly entertaining. I cannot recommend this series enough if you haven't picked it up yet. If you guys have seen the show Dead to Me, I'm sure you will also love this series, but yeah, I cannot wait to finally hurry up and finish this one. I thought there was going to be 4 in the series, but I could be wrong. I am just so glad that I have this and that it's one of my first reads of the year. January was pretty hefty on the new releases, but now going into February, March, there's only 4 or 5 from each month that I am looking forward to. And then April, we kind of pick up again with a lot of romances and things that are coming out. But the first one I want to touch on coming out in February is Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes, which may come as a surprise to you because you've probably never seen me read Greek mythology before. The farthest I've ever read or the most knowledge I have is literally like Percy Jackson, and that is it. But one of my goals this year is to just continue to expand my horizons in my reading, and that includes getting into Greek mythology. Is this a good place to start? Probably not, but this is a story where Medusa is the main character, and that's the one I'm most familiar with, so we're gonna give this a go. I do know Natalie Haynes is pretty popular among Greek mythology writers. We're gonna try this out, we're gonna see what happens, and I know a couple of my other friends are also really intrigued by this one, plus the cover is absolutely stunning, so I'm just excited to try this one out. This next book also had me in a chokehold by the cover. It is called The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshni Chokshi, I believe is how you pronounce it. She also wrote The Gilded Wolves, which I have been recommended quite a lot because it's been compared to Six of Crows, which is one of my all-time favorite books, but I've never gotten around to reading it. I know I own it still, but this one is also an adult book, which makes me very curious. A sumptuous Gothic-infused story about a marriage that is unraveled by dark secrets, a friendship cursed supposed to end in tragedy and the danger of believing in fairy tales. That right there just sounds absolutely breathtaking. I don't need to know much more of the premise, but I really kind of dove a little bit further into Gothic, kind of slow, more aesthetic, I guess you could say, stories last year. And this one just sounds so good. It also says combining the lush, haunting atmosphere of Mexican Gothic with the dreamy enchantment of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Hello, one of my favorite books of all time, so of course I'm gonna pick this one up. The next book that I am so excited for, because I loved Anatomy last year, but unfortunately I have to wait until the end of February on the 28th, is Immortality: A Love Story. This is number 2. The first one ended on a massive cliffhanger, so I am just so excited to see what happens because I need to know. It was so good. Was it a little bit predictable? Yes, but the Gothic suspense, the romance, the atmosphere, kind of like the gory, creepy things, and the medical things that were talked about in this book were very unsettling, and it is so my vibe, and I literally am going to be picking up anything that this author writes from here on out. So as you can imagine, I'm very excited for this second one to finally come out. Now we're going to be jumping straight into the March releases, starting us off with The Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill. She also wrote the Tea Dragon Festival, or the Tea Dragon Society, Aquacorn Cove, Dewdrop. You guys have probably heard of her before, but this is only, I think, the second graphic novel I've seen coming out this year that I'm actually interested in. A middle grade fantasy graphic novel about passion, duty, and found family. Anya is finally a moth keeper, the protector of the lunar moths that allow the night lily flower to bloom once a year. Her village needs the flower to continue thriving, and Anya is excited to prove her worth and show her thanks to her friends with her actions. But what happens when being a moth keeper isn't exactly what Anya thought it would be? This book looks like it's going to be stunning as far as artwork and illustrations go, so I'm highly anticipating this one. It's fantasy, you have some found family, magic, friendship, hope, all of that kind of stuff just sounds perfect for me. Next, I have a young adult fantasy book called Flowerheart that apparently is perfect for fans of Margaret Rogerson, Say No More, and also Tamora Pierce. This is also a standalone, which I feel like we don't get a lot or see a lot in fantasy, so that's also good. It is a stunning cottagecore fantasy romance about a girl with powerful and violent magic. Clara's magic has always been wild. It's never been dangerous. Then a simple touch causes poisonous flowers to bloom in her father's chest. The only way to heal him is to cast an extremely difficult spell that requires perfect control, and the only person willing to help her is her former best friend Xavier, who's grown from a sweet, shy child into a mysterious and distant young man. I love friends to lovers, and the fact that it's for fans of Margaret Rogerson, cottagecore, once again, these are all buzzwords for me, so I really hope this is going to blow up and just be a book that a lot of people love, including myself. Next, we have The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner, which I also am so excited for. A lot of these I'm literally going to be running to Barnes & Noble the day they release. I absolutely adored The Lost Apothecary. It was dark, it was twisty. I'm talking about like plot twist after plot twist after plot twist. I loved the audiobook. It was so well done, and this one also sounds like another dark historical story. At an abandoned chateau on the outskirts of Paris, a dark seance is about to take place, led by acclaimed spiritualist Vaudeline de Allaire. Known worldwide for her talent in conjuring the spirits of murder victims to ascertain the identities of the people who killed them, she is highly sought after by widows and investigators alike. Lena Wicks has come to Paris to find answers about her sister's death, but to do so, she must embrace the unknown and overcome her own logic-driven bias against the occult. When Vaudeline is beckoned to England to solve a high-profile murder, Lena accompanies her as an understudy. But as the women team up with the powerful men of London's exclusive seance society to solve the mystery, they begin to suspect that they are not merely out to solve a crime, but perhaps entangle in one themselves. This just sounds very high stakes, very dark and twisty. Like I said, I'm seeing great great early reviews of this, and the cover is also stunning, so this is one that I just need to get my hands on as soon as possible. The next book we have dropping in March is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher, which I'm so happy to have in my hands. I feel like T. Kingfisher is an author I've really grown to love. Her writing is absolutely phenomenal, and this one has to do with a haunted, creepy house, which is right up my alley. Samantha Montgomery pulls into the driveway of her family home to find a massive black vulture perched on the mailbox staring at the house. And once inside, Sam sees that everything has changed. Gone is the eclectic warmth she expects. Instead, the walls are a sterile white. Now it's very important to say grace before dinner, and her mother won't hear a word against Sam's long dead and long missed grandmother, who was the first to put down roots in this small southern town. The longer Sam stays, the stranger things get, and every day more vultures circle ahead. I don't know what's up with these creepy vultures, but like I said, it sounds like a very haunting kind of tale that has to do with the haunted house. But hopefully this is going to be one I love, considering it's kind of a modern Gothic tale. It's also been blurbed by Rachel Harrison and Paul Tremblay, so hopefully that means good things. And last but definitely not least, we have Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. Jessie Q. Sutanto wrote Dial A for Aunties, which was one of my favorite books that I read last year. I loved it so incredibly much. It definitely reminded me of Finley Donovan a little bit with how scandalous but humorous the story was. So this next book is about Vera Wong, a lonely lady who lives above her forgotten tea shop in the middle of San Francisco's Chinatown. Despite living alone, Vera is not needy. Oh no. She likes nothing more than sipping on a good cup of tea and doing some healthy detective work on the internet about what her Gen Z son is up to. Then one morning, Vera trudges downstairs to find a curious thing. A man in the middle of her tea shop, and in his outstretched hand is a flash drive. So she takes it upon herself to try to solve the mystery of this mysterious dead man, and I'm sure she gets up to a lot of crazy things. I also love the fact that we see this trend of like elderly people portraying main characters in books. I don't know why all of a sudden that's a thing, but I feel like when you read a lot of books, it's usually a person that's in between like 15 and 35 or something, but I really love that we're just getting a different perspective from different characters in some of these books, so this one is also very high on my list. Alright my friends, those are my top 21 books in the next 3 months that have come out already that I'm going to be picking up. This year is just going to be such a great year for new releases, and it's already begun. My bank account is already screaming. I think the biggest reason why I'm so excited going into releases this year is because I discovered a lot of new favorite authors last year, plus there's a lot of authors I already love that are coming out with books this year again, like Elle Cosumano, we have T. Kingfisher, Sarah Penner. Like there's just so many of my new favorite authors that are coming out with new books, which makes me so excited, but it's also going to be a really hard year to keep up. But I guess that is just a typical bookworm problem. I hope you guys were able to find a new recommendation or a new release you're looking forward to in this video. Before you leave, don't forget to comment your most anticipated release for the first 3 months or just all year. I would love to hear what's on your list. As always, thank you so much for clicking and watching this video. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video.